Hi everyone, welcome to Python for Academics. We are now going to spend some time working on bibliography database files formatted with BibTeX. I have one such file over here. It's called bibliography.bib. Those files have the .bib extension, and this particular file stores 8 items which can be then used as citations inside of my LaTeX file. All of these items are formatted in the same way, where we have the @ symbol, then an entry type, and they can be accessed in the main LaTeX file through their tag. Now in this exercise, the first exercise, we're going to operate on this bibliography.bib file, and we are going to count how many bibliography items are included in that file. And even more than that, we are also going to print some detailed information about how many of each entry type we have in that bibliography file. So we're going to print the total number of the bibliography items, and then how many of published articles, how many published books, etc. we have in that file. Now all of the possible entry types are stored in this entry types list. If you're going to write a similar code, you can go ahead and copy that entry types list from the code that I make available on GitHub. And in this exercise, we're going to use regular expressions to help us find these entry types within this bibliography.bib files. Now you can see that the entry type is always printed between this @ symbol and between this left curly bracket where the tag and all of the information about that publication is stored. So the first thing I'm going to do is to import the regular expressions library, RE, and we're going to specify the relative path to that bibliography file, which in this case I have that file stored in the same directory as this particular Jupyter notebook, and we're going to specify the file name, which is bibliography.bib in this case. And we're going to go ahead and open that file and read its content. So we're going to use the Python function open. We're going to use the R string. We're going to open it for reading. And now we specify the relative path to that file. And we're going to set this equal to some variable. And now we're going to read the content of that file using the read function. And I'm going to set this equal to this variable file content. And now if I show you what's inside of that variable file content, you can see that we get a single string that stores all of the text that is written inside of that bibliography.bib file. We can also see that we get these new line special characters. So if I wrap this file content string with the print statement, this is going to format the new line characters as new lines, and you can see that really what the function .read is doing is it's reading the entire content of that file. So now the useful thing that we're going to do is we're going to split the content of that file using the new line character. This is going to return a list of all of the rows in that file. So if I now show you what's inside of that list, you can see that we get a list of elements that store each row in that file. We no longer get the new line characters because the split was performed at the new line character special character. So now we're going to look inside of those rows in that file list, and we're going to look for these particular entry types. And if we encounter one of those entry types, we're going to be increasing some counter that counts how many of these we have. So the first thing that's going to be useful in this exercise is we're going to create a dictionary that stores those counts of the entry types occurrences. So I'm going to initialize that dictionary to an empty dictionary, and now I'm going to loop over each entry type in my entry types list, and I'm going to create an item in that dictionary that has got the key that is the entry type, and I'm initially going to set the value for that key to 0. So now if I show you what's inside of that dictionary, we get a dictionary where keys are the entry types and the values are all initialized to zeros. And now as we loop through the content of that file, if we encounter one of these entry types, we're going to increase that counter. So now let's go ahead and loop over all of the items in our file list. And we're going to use regular expressions now to help us find the occurrences of those entry types inside of that bibliography.bib file. So we're going to use the regular expression function called search, and we're going to search for a particular pattern, which we're going to write over here within each item in that file list. And then we're going to set that the output of that search function to some variable called match. And now we're going to spend some time understanding what is this regular expression that we could write to help us find the entry types in that bibliography.bib file. Now the regular expressions are really a universe on its own, and I only have so much time to explain that to you. So today I'm only going to focus on explaining the portion that is needed for us to understand this exercise, but you can go ahead and learn more on your own. So now I'm going to show you the regular expression that we are going to write in this exercise. So this is a set of characters that we're going to need that will look for the entry type in our bibliography.bib file. So the most important part is this parentheses over here, which tells the regular expression function search to capture and group any characters but a new line, and the dot symbol tells the regular expression to capture any character but a new line, and then the star symbol tells that the regular expression to do that for 0 or more times. Now we're going to capture that any character between the @ symbol and the left curly bracket symbol. So as you can expect, if we write a regular expression like this, if our for loop encounters an entry in this file list that looks like this, it's going to return the entry type that is stored between the @ symbol and the left curly bracket symbol. And this is the match that we're going to be interested in. So now I'm going to go ahead and write all of that regular expression that we had on the slide. Now I need to use a backslash before the curly bracket because the curly bracket is a meta character for regular expression, so I'm going to use a backslash to escape that meta character, and I'm also going to specify R in front of that string so that Python treats this as a raw string. So now if you remember from our earlier videos, if the search function finds a particular pattern in a string, then it returns a match object. And if it does not find that pattern, it returns a null object. So we are only interested in cases where we do have a match. So I'm going to now write an if statement. If match is not none, we're going to do something. We're going to increase the counter inside of our count entry types dictionary. So now we're going to capture that entry type, and in order to return this matched group, we will use the group function on the match object, and I'm going to set this equal to entry type, and we have to tell the function group to return the first group, since we only have one parenthesis in our regular expression. If we had more parentheses, then we could refer to the captured expression by specifying a different group number. And now we're going to increase the counter for that particular entry type that we have captured. So we're going to increase the counter inside of that dictionary. We're going to access the key that is called that with that particular entry type name, and we're going to increase that counter by 1. So now if I execute this piece of code, I can show you what's inside of that count entry types dictionary, and you can see that for some of these entry types the numbers have changed. So for example, we have 4 articles, we have 2 books, 1 conference paper, and 1 PhD thesis inside of that bibliography.bib file. So now the last thing is to count the total number of items in our bibliography.bib file, and we can do that by summing up all of the values in that count entry types dictionary. So we can access all of the count entry types values by using the values function, and we can use the Python's function sum to sum up all of these numerical values. And if I now show you what's inside of that in items variable, we get n total number of items. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to close that file that we opened at the beginning, just so that we cannot modify it anymore by accident. And now the last thing that remains is to print all of that information in a nice way. So we're going to start by printing the total number of bibliographic items in that file. And just to make it visually nice, I'm also going to print 20 of these dashes so that we have this formatted nicely. And now we're going to loop over all of the items in that count entry types dictionary, and we're going to print the entry type and the corresponding count of how many of these particular entry type occurred in our .bib file. So I'm going to write for entry type and value in our dictionary. We're going to access the items through the items function. We're going to print the entry type colon, and we're going to print the corresponding value. So if I print it like this, and you can see that this is almost what we wanted to have, we can also add this this extra visual separator just so that we have this nicely formatted. Now, in order to have that printed text formatted in a way that we have here so that it's easier to read, we could modify this print statement a little bit more just to have this more visually appealing. So what we're printing in this print statement is a string which stores the entry type and a value which is an integer. So we can now tell the print statement that what we're printing is first a string and then an integer. So now nothing yet has changed, but now we can specify, we can right center all of these entry types, and we can do that by specifying how many characters, what's the width of this string, how many characters it should occupy. And the print statement is going to pad that entry type with white space. It's going to include as much white space as is needed to match 20 characters. So now you can see that we have this nicely printed. It's much easier to read it like this. And we've obtained what we wanted to get in this exercise. Now in the next video we're going to keep working on this bibliography.bib file, and we're going to create a list of tags to all of the bibliography items that we have in our database. Those tags are what is then used in the LaTeX main file to refer to that particular citation. So see you in the next video.